What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, what analysts have been doing, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is up 0.94%, 1749 the low, 1795 the high. So it did show some signs that it wanted to really move higher. Regrettably, I kind of lost a lot of that momentum. So institutions really weren't kind of getting behind Lucid today. One thing that's really pushing the broader market and Lucid higher today is Apple and Amazon earnings. Phenomenal. They came out after hours Thursday, so that's one thing that's getting the market all hyped up. Today, though, we're seeing very low volumes of 4.8 million shares being traded. 9.1 is the average. So this upcoming earnings is interesting because you didn't really see any FOMO. In the past, I get it, there's been a lot of bearishness, but you've always seen a certain level of like a FOMO and push higher. This time around, you haven't really seen anything whatsoever. Despite that, though, I wanted to quickly pop on and go over what some analysts have been doing for next week's earnings. On a side note, I am going to be live streaming it, and so make sure you guys tune in for that. But a couple of key metrics: earnings per share, revenue. Those are kind of some things that generally the market and Wall Street looks at, and then what obviously Lucid gives for future guidance. Over the weekend, I'll give you a little bit more of a deeper dive on what to expect from Lucid's earnings and what Wall Street is going to be really looking for. But you can kind of see how it did go from negative 229 to negative 227. So some analysts are a little bit more optimistic on Lucid's earnings per share. One thing that Lucid could announce on a side note on their upcoming earnings is layoffs. Typically, Lucid always follows Rivian. Rivian just announced 600 layoffs, nothing crazy, but still that might be something to expect from Lucid. And again, I know that's maybe a negative to some individuals, but for the company and if for us as investors, it's kind of a positive thing. Revenue, you did see kind of expectations a little bit lower. So it went from 380 to 377.23 million, and that is based on 9 analysts. So it looks like one analyst who was fairly bullish did remove their rating, so it went from 10 analysts to 9 analysts, and it dropped 3 million. So of course, just process of elimination, that analyst was very bullish. This might seem something to be kind of concerned over, but generally, one thing that you need to be aware of for Lucid is Wall Street, they really do prioritize Lucid's future guidance. That's kind of the big deal. A lot of their like key metrics, so earnings per share and revenue, the market kind of just treats Lucid like a special child for the most part. So as long as Lucid can kind of get through earnings without stumbling on itself, kind of they forget the key metrics and just focus on the future guidance. And I think in this earnings, they'll really want to listen to Lucid, really hitting and doubling down on that 18 to 20,000 target. That's literally it. That is going to be such a big deal for it. But still, nonetheless, the average estimate being 377.23 million, that's kind of a good thing, lowering the standard and expectations for Lucid. So again, that might be a positive. Today, there hasn't been any new updates from Lucid, no SEC filings, no press releases. They posted this yesterday around 2 o'clock, so shortly after I did my video. I don't really see this being a crazy catalyst, and I think Lucid's marketing absolutely is horrific now. They're just all over the place. Yeah, so all these videos have already been posted, so it's not really new stuff, and so they're really trying to do that. I don't know if maybe 𝗪𝗧 did his part and he's already been paid and now he's out. But it'd be advantageous for him to be the global brand ambassador to start doing kind of showing his face a little bit more. Even possibly driving a Gravity out in the wild. That would be huge news. But aside from that, though, one thing to take note of, though, is shorts are increasing 155,000 shares. 31.3% of the free floats being shorted, works to be 15.2 million shares overall being shorted. I was rather optimistic a couple days ago because shorts were really returning. We were below 30%, and maybe I jinxed it by actually bringing that up, saying that we were kind of below 30, but right now shorts are kind of doubling down going into Lucid's earnings, which is rather interesting. And obviously with their earnings right around the corner, let me know if you guys have started to dabble with options and if some of you are hedging or whatnot. I did place my trades. I actually have a couple options, covered calls that are expiring today, and then I already set some out for next week, so that would be including their earnings. But looking at this, 2.6 million in calls, 3.4 in puts, and then 57% of all the options being done today are bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you do see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 1850 by the end of next week, so that would be including their earnings. Then the bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of between that 1450 to 16. So crazy stuff. So not that much optimism, but again, that might turn to be somewhat positive with such low expectations. If Lucid does surprise the market with, let's say, a partnership, then you could see things really go higher from here. But aside from that, you can kind of see that institutions are betting on some downside. Aside from all of that though, on the secondary market, you are seeing a lot of institutions buying, so that's always a good thing. 1.06 million and then 589, those are the high ones for today. One sell for 119,000. Aside from that though, these are all the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So especially with shorts being as active as they are, it is fair to assume that most of these transactions are linked to them, or potentially hedge funds as well. On a side note, aside from that, with it at 1774, it is trading right above this S1. So 1765 is that key pivot. So luckily enough, it was able to kind of fight back and get above that, but still, nonetheless, bears are anticipating for it to be sub S2 by the end of next week. So they are like, that would be crazy stuff, because at that stage, the next strong support would be 1191. So things aren't looking all too great. So I think the ball, as I've mentioned many times in the past, is in Lucid's court. So they really need to get their stuff together and stop messing around. Like, there's only so many more future earnings that they can kind of flop on, and the market can kind of forgive without like market just saying F you and just really punishing it. Aside from all that though, on the actual chart, it's, even though we are recovering a little bit today, it's still not really great. There's not really anything to really bring up that's positive, aside from the fact that it is very oversold. So on the stochastic RSI, it is very oversold. So a good piece of news from their earnings, or even on a larger scale, macro scale, you could see some institutions really buying up. But from this, you can kind of see from the flow, a lot of algorithmic trading. So still not that much in analyst ratings. So last one did come out on the 17th. And it's really unfortunate. So even analysts don't really care to really update Lucid as much. Cantor Fitzgerald, so Andre Shepard, he loved to always hear himself talk all the time. So his last rating was on October the 6th. So I think someone needs to do a wellness check, because he seems to like giving ratings almost every 2 weeks. So he's kind of behind the gun a little bit for that. So maybe someone should check on him to make sure he's still alive and well. But nonetheless, let me know your thoughts on Lucid and everything that I did bring up. Are you optimistic going into this upcoming earnings? Are you bearish? Have you been dabbling with options? I've mentioned this time and time again. If you are bullish on Lucid, really look at options, because you can make some very serious money. So for instance, if you feel even going to $20 is on the table by, let's say, December, you can make a solid 38%, and a lot higher of a return than just holding the common stock. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.